When you think of Grimdark, you probably have a few ideas that come to mind. For me, I know personally, Warhammer 40k is sort of my modern benchmark definition. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. But Warhammer does not own maybe technically, it definitely owns the origin of the term. But it definitely doesn't own the whole shebang when it comes to Grimdark, particularly Grimdark Fantasy. Last year, I did a review of the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, a series that I'd heard good things about, but that did not do it justice. Probably my favorite read of 2024. I absolutely adored that series, and I will be doing reviews on the standalones and more in that series, Age of Madness, all that kind of stuff. World of First Law, more on this channel. So if you're a big fan of Grimdark Fantasy, there's going to be a lot more of it here. So, like and subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. But obviously, he's walking on pretty established ground at this point. There have been a lot of authors, a lot of works that have set the groundwork, the foundation for Grimdark as we know it today. And one of those being Glen Cook with the Black Company. Now, this was a book that I was told if you like Grimdark Fantasy, start here, basically. They call him the father or the grandfather of Grimdark. And I know why now. Holy crap. This is such a fun and not fun book in so many ways. I'd read the description of it. I'd read the synopsis. I kind of had an idea, following this mercenary company, the Black Company, on sort of their adventures, etc. But this book, the way it is written, the way it is stylistically put together, the prose, the flow, the descriptions, or lack thereof, this book walks on an absolute razor's edge when it comes to giving you just enough description to go by, but allowing your mind to sort of run rampant. And it does such a good job of not explaining things, which is a weird thing to talk about and a weird thing to say, but it does such a fantastic job of leaving the mystical, of keeping the grounded, of the humans feeling human, even the ones that aren't really human, feeling human. And I was very, very surprised by this book in a lot of ways. I kind of came into it, I had a very clear expectation in my mind, and I think it sort of went even further than that. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. If you're someone who hasn't read it yet, but someone who likes Grimdark Fantasy, you should read it. I do want to caveat it by saying that it's dated. Like, it's really dated. There is terminology in this book that you would not use today. There's terminology in this book that I had to look up because I didn't know it. There is a base level of expectation that I think probably isn't correct today. How do I rephrase that? The Glen Cook expects you to have like a base knowledge of like medieval warfare. He's like, I'm going to use terms and I expect you to know what those words are. Me with a dictionary. Okay, thanks, buddy. Because I'm probably more familiar with this than the average layman. Even I again had to like look stuff up and was like, what is a manflet? What is, okay, these are siege engines that even I'm not aware of. Excellent. We love that for us. And this book does such an interesting job of feeling like you're with more characters than you really are. And it's got a big cast, but there are names that are sometimes only mentioned once or twice, yet you feel like you get such an in-depth look at who they are as people, like instantly. And I think it's partially to do with the fact that everyone has just like one name. They're probably not their real names because they sort of gave that all up when they joined the Black Company. And you're just like, yeah, that's Elmo. That makes sense. Yeah, I know who Croker is as a person. Yeah, I totally get Raven and the Captain and everyone else, Goblin and One Eye. And if you're listening to these names and you're going, Paul, what the fuck? You'd be right. You'd be right. It is a very strange, eclectic cast of characters. And every single one of them does such a good job for sort of exploding off the page with the few pages that they have. Now, it does have one main POV. It follows the Doctor. Not the Doctor. He is the doctor for the company. All right. He's that doctor, but he's also a warrior and he's also an analyst. And again, not that kind of analyst. He writes the annals of history, or he remembers the history of the Black Company. And it follows him recording in these annals, in these journals, and telling you about their adventures. And it basically follows them. They're in this city and everything is going to shit. They've sort of allied themselves to the wrong side, and they're like, crap, but they follow their honor. They're a mercenary company. They're only as good as their word. They're the sort of the last ones, remnant of this old sort of ancient culture that has been going for hundreds or thousands of years, and they're carrying the weight of sort of this brotherhood as it's gone before them. And they end up finding a loophole, basically a way to get out, and they end up sort of becoming the mercenaries of a being known as the Soul Catcher. And the Soul Catcher is one of the Taken. And the Taken are the 10 Taken that are the servants of the Lady. And already, that's a lot of world building and knowledge. But that's really it. That's as far as you got to go. The Lady is probably evil. Probably. But there are other, maybe that's a great, evil is relative, and cue the Witcher quote. And basically they end up becoming under the service of this demon, basically, and realizing that, hey, we've committed now and we're going to go do it. And they end up basically enforcing the Lady's will and fighting this war, and, fighting against people who are as bad or worse as they are. And it sort of follows the moral quandary of, is anybody really good? And these men who do horrible things like raping and pillaging as part of the business, guys. And again, this is where the fact that it's written in 1984 steps out. And these moments but they have these moments of goodness. They have these moments of humanity while they're, brawling and gambling and fighting and everything else. And every single person is killed and maimed 100 men. You're just like, oh my God, okay. But you still root for them. And the whole time, though, you just sort of have this looming fear. It's just like, what are they fighting for? Is this a Rise of the Colossus, Shadow of the Colossus moment? And you're just, the world building is so sparse yet intentional, and because of the way it's written, you're like, we're fleeing the city. And it's been 6 months. Yes, that was one sentence. Yes, this is the next word on the page. No line break, no chapter. There's like 8 chapters in this book. The format, the layout, all of it is so dated, but it works, I guess. I think if this book is a time capsule and it's amazing, and I wouldn't want to change it. And again, if you want to read a modern interpretation of this, you read something like Abercrombie. But this is such a dude book. Like, there's like maybe a handful of women characters in this book, and they are powerful and horrifying, but like there's not any like human women in this book, really, that speak at all. The whole book. That's a little weird. And I don't think that would necessarily pass the test today. I don't think that would necessarily fly today. And I'm, again, for what it is, looking at it through that lens, it's so, and I kind of want to read at least the rest in this sort of initial trilogy for the Black Company. I want to see where this goes, because he did set up this world, and he did set up the stakes, and he did set up these characters. And again, it follows this Black Company as they go up to the northern territories and their battles and their wars and the politicking of the Taken and fighting up against this rebellion who they tout themselves as the good guys, yet they do horrible things as if they were the bad guys. And is the Lady so bad? She's just sorcery and crap, and maybe. And again, enough of it is left up to your imagination. Yet the moments that are deeply explained are like everybody else. What do they look like? Couldn't tell you. He was a grim man. Great. Wonderful. All the description I need. The magic battles? 3 pages of flying toads and stuff. Like, it is so odd, the stuff that he chooses to really elaborate on. Is the magic system ever explained? Fuck no. Never. Is there mana? How do you become a wizard? Also don't know. Can anybody do magic? Maybe. There are amulets and spells and stuff. Yeah. How powerful is it? What's the limit? Couldn't tell you. Are there repercussions? Don't know. Great. It is so different from so many. Like, it is the complete opposite of Sanderson. Like, you could, if you took 2 fantasy works and you put them on absolute polar opposite ends of the spectrum, as like from everything from world building to the characters to the magic. And yet I love both, because both are so interesting in their own way. I enjoy this book. It has its flaws, but the flaws are the flaws of the time as much as anything. Like, looking at it through our lens of 2025. So whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be able to, as a critic of media, be able to look at the piece of work through the lens of when it was written, in the time in which it was written, and appreciate it for what it is. And that's what this book is for sure. I will probably read the next two in the series. Will I do reviews on the channel? I don't know. If you guys want me to review the whole series, maybe I will go sort of in depth and spoiler and sort of discuss all of it for the old school fans, because this book has been out for 40 years. So I imagine there are a few of them. And yeah, this was so interesting. The grandfather, the father of Grimdark. Where did it start? Where has it come? And now sort of having seen more examples. And I'm going to do more examples because I've ordered my first book from the Black Library as a big Warhammer fan, as someone who owns, well, they're off camera, but a lot of miniatures. I'm really excited to dive into it. I'm diving into it with Eisenhorn. So we're going to do a review of that on the channel as well. I've heard sort of that's the place to start with the Black Library. So I'm thinking probably going to read all three. I've got the omnibus and do all three and sort of review the whole series for that. So again, if you're interested in this kind of content, if you like this kind of books, if you're interested in seeing me dive into that as well, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and tune in because I got a lot more cool stuff coming down the pipe. And I will see you next time. Cheers.